to the Every Day is a New Day podcast and live show. The inspirational show about moving forward and choosing to be more of you. Transmuting the self-doubt and stepping into courageously aligned confidence in who you uniquely are. My name is Kim O'Neill. I'm a twice certified transformational confidence coach, Reiki master, best-selling author, and former crime analyst who now helps empathic, heart-centered individuals shatter the noise of self-doubt, find clarity on what self-love really looks like, and the courage to be peacefully grounded in who you've always known you are, from the inside out. Join me for the live shows on Facebook and YouTube, and visit KimO'NeillCoaching.com for more info. Let's get to it. All right, and welcome to another episode of the Every Day is a New Day show. My name is Kim O'Neill, and we are going to have fun today. First, let me just say hello to whoever is watching us live, and of course, hello to all of our replay audio-only listeners or viewers. So good to have you. You may be joining us either on Facebook, inside the Facebook group, or on the Every Day is a New Day show and coaching page, or on YouTube. Wherever you are, we love connecting with you and love answering your questions as we are live. And of course, afterwards too, if you happen to see this afterwards. So do go ahead and let us know that you are here. Say hello in the comments. So good to see you all here. Hello, Helene is already with us. And we have someone in the Facebook group saying hello. Good to see you. And Lillian, it's good to have you too. And it looks like John is with us. Awesome, awesome. And Betty, you guys are awesome. We are going to be talking about play today with someone who I got really, really excited about when he reached out to me about being a guest on this show. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring him up. Welcome, Mike Montague.
So good to be here. I'm super excited.
I'm super excited to have you here. So, Mike, the way I like to do this is I'm going to go ahead and just share with everyone a little bit more information about you. And then we'll get into our go with the flow conversation. So for all those just getting to meet Mike Montague for the very first time, Mike is a speaker, podcaster, writer, and the chief instigator at Playful Humans. He is dedicated to empowering lifelong learners with opportunities they didn't know they had and helping adults rediscover the power of play. And that is so needed.
It's amazing how easily we forget that and how often we forget that.
It is. Will you first tell me, how did you get into helping people rediscover how to play?
Well, I don't know whether to give you the long, short, or medium version. So I'm going to go a medium and say that I have always been a playful human. I was lucky to grow up in a fun, supportive family where we love to play games with each other and act out scenes with my brothers and sisters and be a goofball. And so my dream as a fifth grader, a 12-year-old Mike, was to be on the radio, and I got to do that in my 20s. So I was a Romeo on the top 40 station here in Kansas City. And that was my playful career. I got to DJ in clubs. I got to open for Billy Idol and Frankie Valli and have all kinds of fun. But somewhere along the line, somebody convinced me, and maybe for monetary reasons mostly, to become more serious, to work hard and grind and try and be an entrepreneur and push and take myself more seriously and make more money and grow a career and all that stuff. And I lost my way a little bit and got burnt out on a lot of that, especially during COVID in the last year. But this project for me actually started a couple of years before COVID. But I have continued to find new fun ways. So now I've been hosting game shows, and I've hosted karaoke shows, podcasts, and all kinds of fun things just to keep fun alive and try and get out there and live my life more and enjoy it rather than just working and hoping someday that pays off and turns into fun.
Oh, it sounds so fun. So it's the game show thing that really lit me up, because that's something I would love to do, Mike. So I love that you're sharing all of that. And the thing that really stands out to me is when you just said, try to grow a career.
Yeah.
That sounds so hard. That sounds so rigid.
Well, I love your motto here. Really, what I found the answer is that like every day is a new day and you can't figure it out. You can't plan tomorrow. Anybody that tried found out in 2020 that it doesn't work. We think as human beings that we're smart, analytical creatures, that we can figure everything out, that we can colonize Mars and do this. And if we just have enough lines on our spreadsheet, we can calculate everything and use computers and artificial intelligence to map everything and figure everything out. But what we found is the smartest minds in the world didn't know jack. March 15th was a new day for everybody, and we're all figuring it out as we go along, just like everybody else is. And so that for me was freeing then. What we're really meant for is to be playful. All mammals on this planet are playful. They love to, goof around, play jokes on each other, have fun. And I feel like we're put on this planet to enjoy life, not to figure out how to control it. That doesn't sound much fun to me.
So what I want to say before we get into asking Mike more of the how and what has he discovered about play and all of that is, I just lost my question. Maybe we're supposed to not even go there. Is that there's something for everyone. So for instance, all those people that know all that tough, rigid growing business stuff, sure, that has a place. And I love that you just highlighted, we had a moment in time, it was kind of a long moment, but we had a moment in time where it's like, oh, wait a second. There's something else that actually can serve this time now. And that's what I hear you speaking to is how do we get back into the flow? How do we get back to having fun and enjoying our lives and things like that? So with that said, some of my first questions are, I kind of just want to go in, how
jump in
for the person who's going, I want to be more playful and I don't know how. I'm struggling. What comes to mind? What would you first tell that person?
Well, the first thing is everybody knows how to play. We were all kids once, right? We all know how to do this. Deep down inside, we know what fun is, what it feels like. We may have forgotten and we might need to rediscover that a little bit. Most of what pops up are inhibitions or excuses. So it's, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, or what. Well, all you're saying is other things are more important than my happiness. Right. And think about how many times one of my favorite comedians, I think it's Jim Gaffigan, talks about his kids and they were playing with spaghetti and flinging it around. And parents, of course, started freaking out like, oh, you're going to ruin the walls and stuff. And he said, what we're really telling them is the paint on the walls is more important than the joy in your heart right now. Oh, and we all tell that to ourselves and to our kids. And we raise other people telling them that your fun and enjoyment in life is not the most important priority. And so I just want to be an ambassador for play and fun and tell people that, you said work and money and careers are great, but not if you don't get to enjoy them. So I think once we realize that, we can reconnect. What did we love to do as a kid that was fun? I love to do Legos. I have a whole bunch of Legos around here and a Star Wars Lego collection over here to my right. And I started there. Let me just build some stuff. And I used to love that. Let me see if I still like it. And playing with my nieces and nephews and other kids help a lot. On the website, playfulhumans.com/quiz, there are personality styles. There's 10 different ways to play. So you don't have to play a sport to consider playing. You might do artwork. You have amazing artwork behind you, right? So if you enjoy painting, do that. If you like puzzles, do that. If you like video games, do that. But for Pete's sake, my mission is just to tell everybody to go do what you love. Go play and have some fun.
Well, and what I hear you also bringing people back to is really being clear on, wait a second, what do you value? Are you valuing, the paint on the wall more than this moment in time of fun that's really going to be, it could last as long as we want it to be, right? But a lot of times it may be just a fleeting moment and can fill up the rest of the day to have that fleeting moment even. So that's what I really hear you getting to, is bringing people back to that. And I think that's what a lot of people somehow, one way or another, kind of found they needed more of, oh my gosh, what's really important right now in my life? And thank you for referencing this wall behind me, because yes, this came through a conversation with someone else. I had a different background that I used to use for this show. And, it just sparked some ideas. And I realized, wait a second, I got to switch things up. I want to have more of my play and my color showing up in my world too. So that's where that came from.
That's awesome. And you hit on an important thing there. There's a ton of scientific research. So if you think I'm just making it up and you're like, oh, this guy doesn't want to work hard, he wants to go play and goof around and be an idiot. Well, maybe I do. But all of the scientific research backs this up, that we know, because if we've tried it and we've had the best scientists in the world measure it, if you work more than 60 hours in a week consistently, you start producing less than if you had just worked 40 hours. You burn out and slow down so much that you're half speed, and now you're producing 30 hours of work instead of 40 because you burnt yourself out. If you don't sleep, if you pull all-nighters, that's okay if you're cramming for a deadline or something once. But if you do that consistently, you wear yourself down, your body breaks down, you get sick, and you perform less. And so what they've shown is play recharges, sleep recharges, exercise recharges your brain, creates more connections, more positive chemicals in your body that allow for higher levels of performance. So it's not just a fun idea either. It's actually, if you want to be the most optimized human being on the planet and you still want to measure and do your best work, unfortunately, all the research says you need to take some time off and go enjoy your life and then come back to your work and you'll be twice as good at it.
I want to ask our live audience right now, what have you learned about play or your values over the last year? What has really come through for you that you realized, wait a second, I got to have more of that in my life? Please let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback on this. And Mike, while we're waiting for those comments, will you share with us more about Playful Humans? I see the sign right there in your microphone.
Yeah, Playful Humans is my mission to find more adults and encourage them to rediscover the power of play. So there's a podcast where I interview other playful people. And since you're watching a video on YouTube, there's some on there, and as well as any podcast app that you're listening to this on. So what I interview are people like jugglers from America's Got Talent. I interviewed Justin Guarini from American Idol. I interviewed voiceover actors or puppeteers and all kinds of cool, playful people that get to have fun for their career, and they're really enjoying it and loving it. And so I think those stories are so inspiring to me, because you're like, hey, wait a second. If all of these people can do this, if there are Lego designers for a living, how did I end up in a career that I don't love? And if you love what you do, then great. But if you don't, take a look at it, go join Playful Humans and come up with some ideas to do something different.
So what that brings up for me is I started hosting a show in 2015, and it was either 2015 or 2016. I interviewed a guest, and at the time it was more so specifically focused on, where were you before and how did you get to where you are today? It was really focused on that journey and pulling out pieces of inspiration from that. And I'm going to give a shout out, and I'm actually going to name the person because this is just awesome. So the person I interviewed was Mike Grandanetti, and he's a musician that had been on a popular musician show on ABC. And so I was really excited for this interview, really excited to hear, wow, how did he get there? And as I kept asking these questions, going around it, there were no, I even, okay. I think you know what I'm going to say. There were no
answers, magic bullets, shortcuts, or anything.
Yeah, that exactly that, because there were no. Now, this is not everyone's story, but there's a real nugget here. So there were no. I really had to struggle with this, and so then I had to get over this. I mean, he shared. My family was super supportive. I started as a kid. I had fun. My dad thought it was cool. I think that's what he said. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what he said. And it's like, it just this fun, this playfulness of his got nurtured, and lo and behold, now he's this famous popular musician or magician on television. And that right there just highlighted, oh my goodness, when we don't have roadblocks of either lack of support, although we don't necessarily need that, we can still do things, but just trying to paint a picture here. These other things that kind of tend to come in the way and then mess with our mind, thinking that, oh, we can't do this thing because of this block. I mean, look at that. You can just keep going. So I just had to share that because that was inspiring to hear.
Oh, I love that. And I think you're right. When people asked me when I was on the radio, they'd say like, oh, that's so cool. How do you get a radio show? It's like, well, you don't get a radio show. You get a crappy part-time job at a radio station. And then you get a slightly less crappy job until you eventually get a radio show. And I think that's what people miss is they see the big outcome of like, oh, I want to be a star. I want to be a comedian on huge stages. And it's like, well, to get there, you have to start doing comedy for just yourself or one other person. Maybe you get 10 people to come to a show. I've done plenty of shows where there was 1 or 2 people in the audience, and it's not great, but I got paid, $100 to play music for 2 people. That's not a bad trade with an hour, a few hours of my time. And I think people just ask themselves the wrong question, right? Like it's like running a marathon. You can't learn how to run a marathon without getting tired. You have to figure out where to put the pain or how to deal with the tired or how to practice long enough so that you can get to a marathon level. And so I don't think enough people ask themselves that questions. How to start a marathon is pretty easy. You start running, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Everything you just said. And I want to focus on the piece about it's not necessarily about doing it for that big image, dream at the beginning. Of just start doing it for yourself first, which brings me back to what are you valuing? Do you even value the joy that you get out of it for yourself first? That's a great point. I can totally relate to that.
Well, I love that. And there's so many successful people, millionaires and billionaires that will tell you that if there's no way you're going to be that successful if you don't love it. So what's the point of doing something you don't love, really? And so if you love it, do it for yourself. And then my goal with my career is just to make enough money at it that I get to keep doing it. And that's kind of the deal with the game shows and things that I do now. I also do sales training and stuff. And I love doing that. But if I get paid enough that I get to do it again tomorrow, then that's really all that matters. Because again, like every day is a new day. So if I made it to today and I get to keep doing what I love, then I'm living my best life. That's kind of my philosophy.
Oh, I love it. Okay, I do want to just look at a couple of comments here. You all are still saying hi to each other in the comments, which is awesome. Let's see. We have someone in the Every Day's a New Day Facebook group who is saying, I would love to relearn painting and drawing from back in high school. I also enjoy playing with my nieces. Makes me happy. I want to say,
awesome.
Go do that. Yeah.
Paint with your nieces. Figure out how to learn how to paint with them. Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely. And looks like lots more comments. Everyone's talking to each other in the chat. So I'm glad y'all are having a good time. Happy to have you here. So, okay, Mike, our theme on the Every Day is a New Day show this year is Let Your Light Shine. And with that, I started the Let Your Light Shine movement a few months ago, and we're still going strong with that. And it's really inspiring, empowering people to be their authentic self, believing more in themselves, taking a stand for themselves. Because when you do that, you not only re-empower yourself, but you also inspire and empower other people to do the same. And I say, oh my goodness, imagine a world filled with bright lights. That just, to me, sounds like heaven on earth. Sounds wonderful. So with that said, I asked Mike, I said, Mike, what does Let Your Light Shine mean to you? And Mike said, and this is in 2 chunks here. So Mike, I'll refresh your memory. Mike said, my personal brand is creative nerdery. I love to be creative, fun, and silly, but at the same time, I love to nerd out, be intelligent, and authentic. For me, I am living my best life when I am present and fully engaged playfully with other people. Mike, is there anything else you'd like to say about that?
I think that I've learned an important lesson recently. And one of those things is when you're looking for your purpose in life, I think too many people are looking for a what. What am I supposed to be doing? And there should be looking for a how. How do I want to be living my life? Because life isn't a destination, it's a process. So when I figured this out, when I figured out creative nerdery, it's like, I want to be creative. I want to be playful. I'm fine being a nerd and being a geek and being weird if that's who I really am. And if I can be those things, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm going to be a creative nerd, whether I'm doing sales training or I am doing a podcast or I'm hosting a game show. That is really my purpose, is to let my light shine in that way. And the what will take care of itself. The what can be whatever I happen to be doing right now.
That's so good. You're bringing people back into the present moment. That's what I hear.
And can I give you an example?
Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
Do you want to play a game with me?
Okay. Yes.
I've been working on my mind reading, so I'm not a magician, but I've been working on this, and I made a prediction before we started the show today of a shape for you. So you can choose circle, square, or triangle, and I just want you to choose one of those: circle, square, or triangle, and think of it.
Okay.
Right. You got a shape for us?
Yeah, I'm going between two. Okay, so am I supposed to say it out loud?
Yeah, go ahead. I already made my prediction.
Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, I think the fact that you made a prediction is okay. So I'm letting that go.
No pressure.
No pressure. Okay. Okay. Yes, I got it.
Okay. Which one is it?
Triangle.
I'm going to make this as fair as possible. Okay, triangle. Triangle's good. Now, it's a little hard because I could cheat. I promise there's nobody else here in the room with me on this. But I'm just going to lower my camera here a little bit. And in my pocket, I got a zipper pocket where I put my prediction. So I couldn't get in there, and you could hear it. And we got here, the prediction was... Oh, this way. You picked triangle. We did it. Congratulations. That is awesome. I love it.
Good job, Mike.
So there you go. That's my first magic trick. I wanted to do some creative nerdery. I've been nerding out on magic during the pandemic and stuff too, and met some fun magicians doing my stuff. And you mentioned it earlier, so I thought I would pull it out. I'm glad it worked.
It worked. Good job. That was very successful. I am curious how he did that. I have some thoughts, but we won't even go there. So that was fun. That was fun.
Awesome.
Man, and relief for me. I was going back and forth between two shapes there.
Well, I'm relieved too. You picked the right one.
Woo. Okay, so let's take a look at the chat again. We've got some additional comments here. And oh, look at this. We have a comment from Ryan Montague saying Davis is watching and cheering on Uncle Mike. He's the best.
Hey, that's awesome. I was going to do that trick for him later, so now he knows part of the trick. But I'm going to head over there after the show. Thanks, Ryan.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Someone is saying, I'm not sure what this means, says, I feel the same about his comment about his personal brand, about creative nerdery. It sounds like. I love that name that you've given it, creative nerdery. That's fun right there. Okay. So let's go back to, I also asked Mike, I said, Mike, what's an empowering quote you can share with our audience today? And he shared, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs now is people who have come alive. And that's by Howard Thurman. I love that quote. Will you elaborate on why you love that quote?
Well, I think it's what we've been talking about so far. I don't even know who Howard Thurman was, or that I should eventually Google that because it's one of my favorite quotes. But again, I think people struggle with their purpose or why they're here, or they've given up trying to find it. And that's why they haven't seeked out a more fun career or more playful passion, is that they putting too much pressure on themselves that there's a right answer. And again, it's not a what, it's a how that he's saying there. So he doesn't say, don't ask what the world needs. Don't ask what I can do, what I can make money at, what are people willing to pay for, how can I make the most money? But it's what makes you come alive, what makes you happy, what makes you playful, what makes you inspired, and go do that. And then people will be attracted. You'll find ways to make money at it. You'll attract an audience, you'll attract attention, and you'll be able to propel yourself forward because you're working in the how. You're working with who you're supposed to be and not what you're supposed to be.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question that might seem a little unrelated, but a lot of people in my audience are familiar with this because we talk a lot about how things feel in our body. Because when we can get clear on where we're feeling things, then we can even extract more information. So I'm just curious, Mike, has that been any part of your journey towards becoming more playful and teaching others about more play? Does anything come up for you when I talk about, like, how does being playful feel for you in your body?
Yeah, I don't think it's in a spot necessarily. I think there's two things that come to mind for me. Number one is just being present, being in the moment. When I'm playful, when I'm hosting a game show or I'm giving a speech or appearing on this podcast with you, I am fully present. I can't be thinking about my laundry and what I'm going to have for dinner or all these other distractions. I can't have my email open. That's not going to work. I have to be fully alive and in the moment in order to do those things. And that's why they're so fun for me. And the second part of that is the endorphins that release when you're in a flow state are magical. So it's the DOSE acronym: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, I forget what the E is now. I lost it. Anyway, but I promise you there's science behind all of this stuff. And when you get those feelings, that's what feeling good feels like, right? We forget that when you're playing, that's what it's supposed to be. And we get the opposite all the time, which is the cortisol and the stress hormones and stuff in your life, where you're just tense all the time and you feel it in your back and you're like, this isn't good, or your neck or your forehead. And when you're being playful, the opposite is there. It's a relaxation across your body. It's a warmth and it's an openness. Endorphins. There we go. Thank you, Deborah. Endorphins that make us feel so much better. And that's what happiness feels like. People always, wonder like, I want to be more happy, or I want to be more playful and fun or enjoy life. That's what it is.
So what I hear you saying, I love your answer. And what I hear you saying is allowing it to be a full body experience.
Yeah, for sure.
So good. Okay, so let me just take a quick look at the comments here. Yes, we had Betty saying creativity is powerful forward movement. It's like having ants in your pants. So much fun.
Yay, Betty.
Yeah,
I haven't had ants in my pants, but I don't know what Betty's sleeping outside. That's all right.
Great answer, Betty. Thank you for chiming in here. And before we begin to close out, we're not quite done just yet, but I do want to go ahead and make sure everyone knows where to go for the Let Your Light Shine movement. So if you have not yet joined the Let Your Light Shine movement, then you have an open invitation to do so. It is free. It is easy. It's something you do for yourself that also has an awesome ripple effect in inspiring and empowering others. So you simply can go to the bit.ly link that's on the screen, bit.ly/Let Your Light Shine movement. I would love to have you, see you come on board. And again, it's just simply something free and easy for you to do. There's no other thing that happens really after you join, other than we get to celebrate you if you give us permission to. So with that said, yeah, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. I love it. I'm very passionate about this. Okay, so Mike, we are nearing the end of the show, and something I love to do, on Mondays, we do Inspirational Message Monday, where I read an inspirational passage from a book, and then I pull some cards just to expand on the message, something fun that I love to do, and my audience tends to like. So I have 3 card decks here. I have many more than 3, but I have 3 here with me that I thought might be good for today's show. So will you help me pick the deck that we will use?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we'll start with...
Triangle. No.
We'll start with this. This is probably, well, I'll just go. Okay. Well, the first one is Brendan Burchard's The Motivation Manifesto cards.
Like Brendan.
Okay. Then we have, this is a deck I created, and I call it Kimmy's Rolodex Deck because it's written on these really old Rolodex cards and lots of messages that I was inspired to put on cards.
Old school. I like it.
Yeah. Or we've got the Rebel Deck, which is, it's the Oracle with Attitude, and there are curse words in this. So just FYI. Which deck would you like to?
Man, those are all good options. I love Brendan. I relate to the Rebel, and I don't know why there's no unicorns on that last one, but I'm going to have to go with yours. I feel like that's more playful and creative. I want to hear your questions.
Thank you. Okay, awesome. So let's do it. So, okay, let me move the mic a little bit. Just gathering these up here. Okay, so I'm just going to do some light shuffling first, and then in a moment here, I will continue to shuffle and would love for you to tell me when to stop, Mike. And of course, sometimes cards pop out even before you say stop. But okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, okay, feel free to tell me when to stop.
And stop.
Okay. So I don't know if I said this. The card on top is what it will be our card. And so the card that's showing right on top here is, what if only good could come of this?
I love it. So my initial thoughts, I've been feeling this a lot lately, and I gave this quote in a speech last Friday, is how come we always think about the worst? We think about the disasters and what could go wrong. And you're like, well, what if we get in a car accident, or what if I get COVID, or what if this? And it's like, well, what if you win the lottery? What if you become instantly successful? What if you become a flamboyant TikTok all-star? Like, those are also crazy options. So what if everything works out fine? Let's go with that.
I love it. And I have to point out that the card right underneath is say yes.
That helps. That helps for sure.
I love it. Okay. Oh my goodness. Mike, you are so fun. Thank you for being here today. Tell everyone, so we've got your website. Tell everyone just what your directions are for how they can connect with you after the show.
You bet. Playfulhumans.com. You can find the podcast on there. Also, anywhere you listen to podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube as well. And the quiz, if you go to playfulhumans.com/quiz, or you click on the quiz on the homepage, there is a short personality quiz, the BuzzFeed style quiz, which will help you come up with some ideas to be more playful in the style that you like. So there's some great suggestions there, and the community is free. So if you just join the club at playfulhumans.com, you can connect with me and other people trying to rediscover the power of play.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And of course, we have Deborah saying, what if we are wildly successful? Yes, I think that is such a good point to really drive home for sure. Oh, Mike, thank you so much for being here today. It was a lot of fun having you on the show, and wishing you all the best with your family, and awesome to see some of them joining us today. And thank you to all of our live viewers. Let us know what you're taking away from today's conversation. Definitely check out Mike's quiz at playfulhumans.com, and then the quiz link on your site, correct? Okay, Awesome. And Mike, thank you. Do you have any parting words before we close out?
I do. You love the game shows. Real quick, I got a question for you now. You asked me one. Name a movie that features vampires. The top 4 answers on the board. Name a movie that features vampires.
Okay, Twilight.
Number 1 answer. You nailed it. You were 2 for 2 on the challenges today. Nicely done.
Thank you. I love that. I love game
weekend.
shows. Thank you. You too. Okay, have an amazing day, everyone. I'll see you all again next week with some more awesome shows. Stay right there, Mike. Bye, everybody.